evening. I'm Bruce Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Francis Tuttle Foundation, and I want to welcome each one of you to Innovision 2015, a celebration of vision and innovation. Vision and innovation that have deep roots in Oklahoma, roots that have grown from visionary ideas of a great area vocational school system that was planted in 1963 by our institution's namesake, Dr. Francis Tuttle, and innovation nurtured by many along the way. That vision again made its mark on a windswept plain here at 127th and North Rockwell in 1980. Though he had known Francis Tuttle, the man, for many years, it was in 1980 that George Nye became affiliated with Francis Tuttle, the school. Before there were any buildings, he was front and center for the groundbreaking ceremony right alongside Dr. Tuttle. By that time, Governor Nye had already been a champion of career tech, then called VOTEC, for many years. I've heard Governor Nye tell a story about a plane ride to another state that had a system that was thought to hold great promise for what we might build here in Oklahoma. Perhaps we'll hear a little bit more about that story a little later. Working together with vision and innovation, the Francis Tuttle Technology Center was brought to life by a newly formed Board of Education and many willing and interested partners. Many are here in the room tonight. We need to note that though Francis Tuttle, the school, has been on the leading edge of what we have in Oklahoma, career tech might not have happened or might not have excelled without the efforts of George Nye. This is usually the point in the story where the hero in the white hat arrives. However, he's already here. Governor Nye doesn't have his white hat on, but we're very glad to have him here with us tonight and his family. We should all be in awe of what has been done over the years, working together to sustain and grow the vision with innovative ideas and implementations, because we in this room are here to honor some of those accomplishments by honoring our former governor. While we're talking about vision and innovation, I would like to take this moment to recognize our former superintendent and CEO and recipient of the 2009 Innovisionary Award, Dr. Kay Martin. Dr. Martin, would you stand? There have only been 3 other recipients of the Innovision Award over our history. The original recipient was Mr. Bruce Gray, the former superintendent of Francis Tuttle. Mr. Gray is no longer with us, but Patricia Gray is here in the audience tonight. Patricia, could you stand? In addition there we have Dr. Francis Tuttle, who was also a recipient of the Innovision Award. In addition, we are all here tonight to celebrate our students, who are the ultimate reason for Francis Tuttle Technology Center, the Oklahoma Career Tech, and the area school concept. You will meet some of these students tonight. In fact, some may be seated at your table. If they are, we would encourage you to engage them, learn about their goals, and just about what their plans are for the future. On behalf of the Francis Tuttle Foundation, thank you for being here tonight, taking time out of your schedules, and thank you for your generous contributions to the Francis Tuttle Foundation, which was established by Bruce Gray, whom I've already mentioned. It was established to help students who were in financial need to reach their future dreams and goals. I would like to especially thank Express Employment Professionals for being our visionary sponsor for this evening, and CMS Willowbrook for being our innovator sponsor for the evening. We also have a number of other sponsors who will be shown on the screen throughout the evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to briefly introduce the Master of Ceremonies for the evening, Mr. Thomas Lewis. Thomas is a former Francis Tuttle student who was also a member of the Superintendent's Leadership Academy. He was involved in many other leadership activities, including Skills USA. He earned an accounting degree from the University of Central Oklahoma, and now is a congressional staffer with Congressman Tom Cole. Thomas, would you stand for a moment? Thomas, we really appreciate you being here and serving as our MC. Lastly, I would like to point out that on your table, there are some donation cards. It says how you can help. Those donation cards are there if you choose to give a gift to the foundation this evening after you hear some stories. If you do choose to do so, you can put your gift in that envelope and drop it off at a donation table on the way out this evening. Again, I'd like to welcome you to our celebration. Please enjoy your meals, and we will be back with the program in about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. Would you please help me recognize the Putnam City Silver Strings for their wonderful performance? As Bruce mentioned, I'm Thomas Lewis, and I will be your MC for the remainder of tonight's celebration. I am a former student here at Francis Tuttle and also a former member of the Francis Tuttle marketing team. As I look back on my journey and my experience, I've come to realize that some of the fundamental building blocks, some of the core ingredients, can be traced back to my education here at Francis Tuttle. And it wasn't just the technical knowledge, but also the soft skills, the employability skills that helped me along the way. Lessons like professionalism, passion, punctuality, to look to the future, to build. This is what the faculty and staff at Francis Tuttle taught me. And I know that my experience is not necessarily unique in this regard because across the state, there are thousands of students that have experiences similar to mine and who have benefited as I have. To build. That is why the faculty and staff at Francis Tuttle and staff across the state in Career Tech, why they come day in and day out to work. It's why the students come here. And that is why we are here tonight. To build. You know, the future in Oklahoma is extremely bright. And with partnerships, innovative solutions, and a little bit of elbow grease, we will for sure achieve that future. I would love to acknowledge each person in this room, but our time together is limited. So although each of you are very special individuals, please allow me to recognize a few individuals. Would you please help me thank past and present members of Francis Tuttle Foundation Board of Trustees, as well as Francis Tuttle Technology Center Board of Education members. All of these individuals give of their time and their energy, and they are true volunteers. We honor your service tonight as well. We would also like to recognize former State Career Tech Director, Dr. Roy Peters. Oklahoma Chancellor of Higher Education, Dr. Glenn Johnson. And we would also like to recognize representatives of the Scholarship Committee of the Deaconess Auxiliary, who have graciously supported students through the Francis Tuttle Foundation for many years. Also, we would like to recognize Steve Duty and his wife, Georgianne Knight Duty. I would also like to recognize all Francis Tuttle students with us here tonight. Some are working around us and some who are seated here in the audience tonight as well. Last, but certainly not least, some very important family members in the history of Oklahoma Career Tech are here with us tonight. Please help me recognize Chad Tuttle, Mayor Dewey Bartlett Jr. and his wife Victoria, and Dewey Bartlett III and his wife Meredith. Let's get on with the program for tonight with a short video highlighting the stories of two students for whom the foundation was able to help.
Helping Francis Tuttle students achieve their vision of career success. That is the goal of the Francis Tuttle Foundation. The foundation exists to secure financial assistance and learning opportunities for high school completers and adults facing personal financial challenges. Through scholarships, loans, and emergency aid grants, the foundation makes it possible for Francis Tuttle students to continue their education, resulting in successful, rewarding careers and a better quality of life.
Before joining Francis Tuttle, I was a face in the crowd. I was that girl in the back of the classroom who didn't say much. I was so shy, lacked a lot of confidence.
A foundation that works is a foundation that really shows its community that cares.
The circumstances of why I approached the Francis Tuttle Foundation were that when I became a state officer, a HOSA state officer, there's certain apparel that you're supposed to wear. For me, Francis Tuttle provided my blazer and also just becoming a state officer. They provide your uniform, but they don't provide the heels. And those heels are about $40, and it doesn't seem like much, but it was, if I had to pay for those, it would have been a struggle, a financial burden on my family, because my father had recently lost his job. He was in the oil field, and if you know anything about the oil field, you know it is ever-changing. And just paying for those $40 would have been very difficult. And so that's why I approached the Francis Tuttle Foundation. And that $40 really helped me gain confidence that I have my school behind me. They'll support me. When I was 8 years old, my grandmother was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And at the time, I didn't even know what was happening. Even when she became bedridden and bald, I didn't know what was happening. And that kind of lack of understanding makes me want to understand it now. And that's what kind of pushes me towards the medical field.
I started the military in November of 2003. Pretty much just got out in November of 2013 and elected to come to school. It was demanding, of course. You wake up and you're moving, and you go to sleep and you're moving. It was definitely something that I look back on, and I feel fortunate to actually experience it. But it was my time, and I'm glad that it's a new chapter in my life now. It was hard, just to deal with a sick wife and then, go to school and kind of go through the motions of trying to be productive. It was difficult for me. Honestly, everything happened so fast. She was diagnosed, and then she went in for surgery to get her breast removed. She was clear for 6 or 7 months, and then went back into the ER. And 2 weeks later, she passed away, March 23rd, 2015. I remember everything about it in a certain sense. I just, I remember the feeling of it, not the actual day-to-day activities, but just the feeling of it that, that was my best friend. That was somebody that I talked to, and we understood each other. Because that's when she was in control of everything. She was the bank account holder. She was the gas bill holder. Everything was in her name. And this was just so unexpected that I couldn't even get money out of the bank account because I wasn't on their bank account. So just financially, I put everything to the side and just kind of tried to deal with what I was going through emotionally. My teacher, Ms. Dinkins, pretty much was the one that instructed me to go talk to the foundation. And I'm actually glad that she did, because I was hurting. I wasn't in a good place. Easy, I just went to the foundation and filled out some paperwork, and they said that they'll get back with me, and I want to say within 48 hours, I was given notification of what they were going to help me with and when they were going to help me, and that side of it was really what helped me out a lot, because it just kind of not worry about some things, you know. As much as I want to put it in the back of my mind about rent and water and lights, it's still something that my kids need in order to develop what I need to maintain. So just to have that off of my mind was great. Pretty much I'm the living testament, you know, that I feel like without the support that I was given, I didn't feel like I had too many options. With what I received, I felt like it gave me options. It gave me some things to look forward to. So in that sense, you know, it took me out of rock bottom. It gave my kids a father, a husband to love. So that's what it did for me and for anybody else. And I wish that I could help as much as they helped me. The knowledge that I received from Francis Tuttle definitely will be a part of my future plans. I'm all about looking forward. I appreciate it, and I just want to be that success story. It's a foundation that works. It's a foundation that really shows its community that cares. So that's just the biggest thing that I really want to convey off of this message.
Quite moving, isn't it? Again, I would like to say how honored I am to be with you tonight. Now let's review how the rest of the program will follow. We have 3 speakers this evening who will share remarks and special insights about the school, the Francis Tuttle Foundation, and finally, some perspectives on our former governor, George Nye, and why we honor him tonight with the Innovision Award. Our first presenter is Dr. Tom Friedemann. Tom has more than 40 years experience in career tech education, beginning as a marketing education teacher at Putnam City West, as an administrator at Great Plains Technology Center, serving in several capacities with the State Career Tech Agency, notably as an assistant state director, and then inspiring us here at Francis Tuttle since 1997, taking the helm as superintendent and CEO in 2009. Tom has served on committees, councils, boards, locally and around the country, for many more organizations than we have time to cover, leading several of those as president. He has been honored with the National Council of Local Administrators Distinguished Service Award, the Arch Alexander Award, and the Francis Tuttle Career Excellence Award. The latter of those 2 highest honors one can receive in career tech. Please help me welcome to the podium Dr. Tom Friedemann.
Thank you, Thomas, for those very kind words. Seeing former career tech students like you makes me realize how incredibly blessed I am to be in this business for all these years. It's truly been my honor. And one thing about, when you were saying, that's just another way of saying I'm old. I understand that. But when you've been around a long time, lots of times you get asked to talk about career tech history and how the system had developed and evolved. And so tonight, I just want to make it abundantly clear how special it is at this event to have a reunion of the 3 families of the 3 men who made this creation possible back in the 1960s. I'm not sure it's ever happened before. I'm not sure it'll ever happen again. But this evening, we have seated right in front of me, we have Bartlett's, we have Nyes, and we have Tuttles. And I know you've all been recognized, but I'd like you to stand up one more time and let's give them acknowledgement for what their families did for our system. They are truly the career tech trifecta. And with their influence, Oklahoma's system wouldn't be the system it is today, and one that's envied around the world, not just in America, but around the world as well. Just kind of give me goosebumps to see that table set up. And I still have my white hat on. I don't know if that's formal wear, Governor, but I do have that here. And Mayor, I also have an original Okie pen that your dad gave me at one point in time. And so it always serves as a special reminder to me of the two governors who helped Dr. Tuttle make this the best system in the country. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much to what you did and to the significance your family gave to our system. We'll be forever grateful for those of us that work as career tech professionals. Of course, it goes without saying how pleased I am for all of you to be here this evening and on our campus in this beautiful venue. And I'm so proud of this organization, especially proud that what we're doing to not only honor one of Oklahoma's greatest leaders, but also to assist in need, students in need, without whom none of us would be here. Without students, there's not a reason for any of us to be here. I have so much pride in this organization and the people, what they do to help the students achieve their dreams and their goals. I think the video kind of pretty well sums up a number of students that we help on just a daily basis. I'm humbled to be standing here before you this evening and be Francis Tuttle's superintendent for some of the things that we do. Our mission is quite simple. We prepare our students for success in the workplace, and that's what we all strive to do. We are the economic development arm of public education, and working together with our business partners, Chancellor Higher Education, and our partner schools, we feel like we do a pretty good job of putting students in the right places and making them successful. One phrase that those of you who are on our faculty and staff at Francis Tuttle, I know hear me say a lot, is that we pride ourselves in being a leaderful organization. And really what that means is that we expect our faculty and staff to hold leadership positions in the professional organizations like the Association of Career and Technical Education. We expect our students to be state and national officers, district, state, and national officers, and we have a number of those in our career tech student organizations. And whenever somebody says, well, how do we do that? We hope that they say, well, let's contact the person out at Francis Tuttle and see how they do that, and that's kind of what we do. So we appreciate our faculty and staff because it couldn't happen without them. But we have a critical problem in this country, and the fact is we're simply running out of people who know how to do essential work. With all the emphasis we placed on just a college degree, I think we put our nation in a position of having a serious skills gap. Employers tell us every day that they can't expand their business because they can't find the workforce they need. The Oklahoma Department of Commerce recently cited figures that say 68,000 jobs right now in Oklahoma can't be filled for lack of qualified applicants. The new minimum level of education for someone to be successful in today's society is a high school diploma plus a post-secondary education credential. That credential doesn't necessarily have to be a college degree, even though college degree is essential for a lot of them, but it can also be an industry-recognized certificate. And with the help of this foundation, it can be debt-free. With college debt now exceeding that of credit card debt in this country, I think that's a worthy goal, and I think all of us can feel good about. Just think about it. We at Francis Tuttle pride ourselves in saying you can be job-ready and debt-free, and the foundation makes that happen. So I think that sounds like a pretty good goal for any spouse or any parent of somebody who is wanting to pursue a better life. So I think it all adds up to a better quality of life for all of us. Throughout history, it's been said that all great societies shall one day be measured by what they do to help the most vulnerable. Let me state that not all students are in need of the same level of vulnerability, but some do need help. You saw a couple in the videos earlier this evening. Those students are those students that we help every day for Francis Tuttle Foundation. That's all I'm probably going to say about the foundation, because I know our president, Fern, is going to be on a little bit later to talk to you about that. But I just want to tell you that seeing this crowd here this evening, to recognize the great Oklahoman that we're going to be recognizing today speaks loads to you and the confidence that you have in helping us with our partners in higher ed and common ed to make sure that there's a job for every student that comes in here, and we're so honored that you're here this evening and to help us celebrate the students that we have. So the thing that I guess I'm most honored to be part of is the fact that our Career Tech system adds value to our students every day. So thank you once again for being here and for the job that you're doing from the standpoint of helping students at Francis Tuttle. Thomas, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Friedemann. Your pride is understandable, and we can always use a little more education in economics. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Fern Green Bowling. Some of Fern's history includes serving as an administrator of equity and diversity programs at the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education, where she co-piloted an e-mentoring program for females and STEM-related programs like Girl Tech. She also served as executive director for the Oklahoma Council of Vocational Education, having been hired to that position by none other than Governor Nye. And she served as director of program and policy at the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity. She currently serves as a member and officer on numerous boards, commissions, and councils, some of which include the Oklahoma Council on the Status of Women, the American Indian Council, Rural Enterprises Incorporated of Oklahoma, the National Alliance of Partnerships and Equity, and the Stillwater Literacy Council. Please help me welcome the president of the Francis Tuttle Foundation, Dr. Fern Green Bowling.
Thank you, Thomas. You do a great introduction, and I'm glad you didn't tell them how many years I've been in the system. I've enjoyed every day of it, too. And we want to appreciate the Francis Tuttle system for hosting us tonight. And you've seen the students and not all the staff and workers that have put this on, but it's been tremendous. And every student I saw, I thank them for working tonight, because a lot of them got here about 3:30 this afternoon, and they've been working ever since. So thank every single one of you that had a part of this. And the foundation certainly could not exist without the assistance of the students and without working together with this great school. And I would also like to thank each of you for being here tonight and for buying a ticket or sponsoring a table. And the students that we help are in need of training programs and become contributing members of our community when they finish their education here at Francis Tuttle. And that really is working together. With your help, the foundation can help students in ways that public education programs cannot. They can have one-time emergency aid grants, they can have tuition assistance, and they can have interest-free loans, which help people continue their education and take advantage of the professional development training programs that are offered here. And you saw earlier the two accounts of how foundation has helped students. Those two represent hundreds of students who might have had to drop out or unable to take advantage of the opportunity available to them when they did not have the means to do so. And as Tom alluded, to students who complete their programs and go on to earn a good wage, be active, and contributing members of their communities. Some of the various accounts which we learn from the students are, many of them are living in a car, students who have children who need medical care, students who ask for transportation assistance because they want to get here to improve their circumstances, but need a little help. Some of these stories can easily tug at our hearts, and 3 of us today read some of those stories as we reviewed scholarship applications. And some of them, desperately need the education so that they can get out and get a job and support their families. And often we receive heartfelt letters and cards from these students after they have received the support, thanking the foundation for the help that helped them keep on track. The thing is, the foundation is not an entity of its own. The foundation is each of you and your contributions, like purchasing your ticket tonight. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and honoring George Nye. And to me, Governor Nye, you're the pride of Oklahoma. And I've always appreciated you because you've done so much for the people of this state and throughout the United States in a lot of ways. And for each of you learning about our foundation and how it does make a difference, I would be remiss in my role as president of the foundation if I did not encourage you to pick up one of these cards that are at your table and make another donation, or maybe take it to someone that you know would also like to support this foundation and what it does for the students in this community that go out in our state and make it a better place to live. Thank you, each of you, for making a difference in the lives of these students.
Thank you, Dr. Bowling. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you our next speaker, and you know his name. It is synonymous with Oklahoma and connecting people with career opportunities. But you may not be aware that he is a strong supporter of career tech, or of his close relationship with Governor Nye. He has been a longtime community leader and serves as chairman and chief executive officer of Express Employment Professionals, headquartered in Oklahoma City, just down the street from here, with operations across the United States and around the world, putting people to work. A nice fit with career tech. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the podium, Mr. Bob Funk.
Thank you very much, Thomas. It truly is a privilege to be here at Francis Tuttle tonight and to introduce my good friend and an honoree, Governor George Nye. I'm a little concerned because he has the microphone after I do, but I will tell you that George Nye has helped build many schools, many roads, and helped us build many businesses in the state of Oklahoma. George has and always will have great vision for our state and great vision for our people. And we ought to be so thankful for his presence in our state and for who he is. To me, George Nye is our modern Will Rogers. George Nye has been the greatest ambassador the state of Oklahoma has ever had and was ever born here. George Nye became a friend when I first moved from the state of Washington down to Oklahoma in 1969. I was out at the Capitol lobbying on some legislation that we had in our industry. George Nye, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Oklahoma, stepped out of his Lieutenant Governor's office and welcomed me as a businessman to this wonderful state. I'm ever grateful to him because I was one lonely kid. But he made me feel comfortable. He made me understand that Oklahoma was a state that loved their people, who encouraged their people to do well not only in business but in education as well. And of course, George spoke to our national convention that we had a few years later in Oklahoma City, and I was shocked because George showed up about a minute and a half before he was on the program. And I said, George, would you like some paper for some notes? He says, oh no, I don't need that. He had a business card with 4 jokes on it, and he rolled it from there. And I will tell you, the people that are our company never forgot George Nye and never forgot the representative that he was. I also invited him to many of our events that we had in the past. The only problem I had with George Nye is he worked my crowd every night that he was there. And he did a great job because he was a great representative, of course, of Oklahoma. I did invite him when we had some tennis execs out of New York City to the ranch, to the cabana one night. I invited him and I invited Frank Keating, Governor Keating at the same time. The only problem was George would never stand on the right and Frank would never stand on the left. But they did a great job. It was a great job of slapstick representing this state between the two of them, and it was wonderful. I just wish that I would have recorded it. But there never will be another George Nye, because there's never been anyone in politics who has been as clean and as honest and as true, not only to the state, but to his integrity and for his well-being of his moral values. And so, yes, he has always been the best person in politics that I've ever known. And had I known a Democrat that was that good, I might have been one when I came to this state. But George's been a great friend, and he's been a wonderful person, not only a wonderful representative, but a wonderful friend to me. And George, thank you for being who you are and what you've done for this state and what you've done for education. At this time, we'd like to show you a video of Governor George Nye.
He supported Career Tech in every way, but he supported education. And one of the things he always said is, when you raise the tide, you raise all the education ships, not only just vocational education at the time, but higher ed and common ed as well.
So every time I come by the Francis Tuttle VOTEC system,
He brought Oklahoma together. I believe he's the only governor that I'm aware of in history that won 77 counties the second time he ran. One of my favorite George Nye stories is about his second election, when he was elected the second time to be the governor. George was standing on the stage, and I was standing kind of back with one of his staff members who is a really good friend of mine, and we were watching. And as people came up to the stage to shake hands with George, I was amazed that he not only knew their names, but he knew where they were from. You know, George had given so many graduation speeches in small towns in Oklahoma. He knew which way the main street ran in every town, whether it ran east or west or north or south. He just knew Oklahoma. He was an Oklahoman at heart, and he did everything that was good for Oklahoma. He's a good friend and a thoughtful person, and a loving father and a loving husband, and he loves Oklahoma.
Dr. Fisher, I didn't know we had this much money. We could do things like this. Don't tell them what we can do now with the state capitol once we see these places.
In those days, when the governor was a teacher at McAllister, the VOTEC programs were in shop buildings out behind the buildings, school buildings. And with Dr. Tuttle coming in as director, he was looking at promote and improving the image of VOTEC. He was a governor when we had the opportunity with the oil boom that we had. And he was very instrumental in getting equipment into those programs that we needed. Unfortunately, he was also the governor when we had the oil bust as well. But I think he managed that well. He managed those two systems very well as a governor of Oklahoma. And I think with the help of the governor and Dr. Tuttle, I think we're very proud of our VOTEC, Career Tech system that we have today. I think he was dependable. He was honest about his activities. He was honest with the people. He was also honest with the amount of money that he had to control, and he didn't try to overspend. He stayed within his limits, and I think that's probably is very needed today. In his day, he was the modern Will Rogers of Oklahoma. He was a humorous individual. He had a message that he wanted to deliver to the people, and he had an unusual way of remembering some of the things that he wanted to tell, because he kept notes on his hand. I've never seen an individual make notes on his hand as well and as often as he did. Not only the governor was good in promoting education, but he was also good with students and with the people of Oklahoma.
The private who had just been running said, "I'm getting out of here," and the mystery figure out of the night that had grabbed him and stopped him and said, "Young man, do you know who you're talking to?" And the private said, "No, I don't." And the figure out of the night said, "Young man, you're talking to a colonel." And the private said, "Have I run that far?"
I met Governor Nye actually as an employee. I worked for the governor at the University of Central Oklahoma in the governor's office as equity officer. Equity officer was a kind of unique position. If there were problems or issues on campus, oftentimes the president would ask me to go and get involved with those issues, report back to him. So we had contact almost on a daily basis on a number of different things going on. So I actually may be one of the few people here that in the audience tonight that have actually worked for the governor, and that's really what I want to talk most about is how it was to work for him. There were three words that when I was preparing for this that I kind of thought of in terms of what it was to work for him. It was fun. It was very challenging. And the third word is kindness. The Office of Civil Rights Department of Education had randomly selected the university for an audit of the athletic facilities. In other words, to make sure that the university wasn't discriminating against women versus men in athletics. Part of that process required that the university officials and officials from the U.S. Department of Education meet and discuss the process. But it was also required that the president be there at that meeting. And so we had gathered in a conference room not far from the president's office, and there were some university officials. I was present for that, and there were some officials, probably about 6 or 7 on each side from the U.S. Department of Education. It's pretty, somewhat tense, not a lot of interaction going on, and we were waiting on President and I to come into the room. Well, I had not taken notice that the whole room just happened to be males. The representatives from the university were males, and the representatives from the government were males. And so we were sitting there waiting, and President Nye walks in. He greets everybody, moves around the room, and sits down, and he looks, and he says, he put his hands on the table, and he said, "Okay, let me get this clear. All of us guys are going to decide whether or not we're discriminating against the women." It tickled me so much, I couldn't stop giggling. It cut the tension in the room. People relaxed, and we went forward and along with whatever the process was. But that's an example of his humor, his wit, knowing how to say the right thing at the right time. I think that the governor's qualities come from his love of Oklahoma. He wanted to be in public service at a very young age, and was. But I've never met an individual that loves Oklahoma more than he does. The thing that I'll always remember about my professional working relationship and my personal relationship with Governor, President, boss, George, my friend, is his devotion to his family, of course. He is devoted to those around him and continues to be. He still is Oklahoma's spokesman. So I just want to conclude by saying to the governor and to Donna, thank you for your support of vocational education. A lot of people will chronicle that tonight. I've wanted to talk about my relationship with you on a personal and a work basis. Thank you for your service to Oklahoma, for your commitment to the community of people who face ongoing challenges on a daily basis. And thank you for being my generation's Will Rogers. I love you very much. Have a great evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the podium a great Oklahoma leader, longtime supporter of career tech education, our former governor, and my good friend, the 2015 Visionary Honoree, Governor George Nye. Let's go all the way. Sing it. We know we belong to the land, and the land we'll start over. Well, I think that I should probably say, let's run the video again and have Bob Funk introduce me again and then go home. And to hear all the other speakers and particularly to end up with Rick, and I just should say thank you. I'm honored. Good night. Let's go home. But I ain't gonna do that because I done worn out my hand and I gotta read you what I got on up here. But I am honored to be here tonight. And Funk, thank you. I'm honored with you being here, and thank you for a wonderful introduction and saying such nice things. But please, with the hair that you have that color, don't tell people that when you saw me you felt like a kid. Things have changed. They said I knew everybody's name. Well, as you found out tonight, I didn't. I had to fake it 2 or 3 times. And I try to do my best, but I have problems. But it's so wonderful for so many people to come up and say, you remember me? You remember when you spoke at my, you remember when you dedicated, oh yeah. But things have changed over the years. Things not the same as they used to be. And I read about the other day that the honor flights are having their last trip to the nation's capital that honors veterans of World War II to see the World War II Veterans Monument. And they raise private funds, like this foundation. They raise private funds to their foundation and take veterans. And they call me, Representative Bands called me and said, you want to be on the first flight to go to Washington with the veterans? Well, I was in the Navy toward the end of World War II. And so I said, well, I could go as one of them. And so I said, but do this. Don't call me governor. Don't introduce me.
don't give me a reserved seat. Don't ask me to make a speech, because I want to be one of the guys who served in World War II. Don't be on the honor flight, so don't call me by name. But I'm telling you, it was like tonight. Some of you came up, you could just, oh, I know him. Well, as they got on the plane, but no one ever called, I know, we bus tour all around the Capitol. At the monument, we were standing there, and this old timer came up to me, and he just had this look on his face. He said, put his arm around me. He said, I know you. I said, oh, shucks, I'm very honored. Thank you very much. He said, your son was such a good governor. And then she mentioned that I had made commencement speeches. Well, let me tell you, this last May at Clinton, Oklahoma, I made my 66th consecutive year of making at least one commencement speech. I made my first commencement speech in 1950 as a senior chancellor at East Central State College, university now, and I've done at least one every year since. And I was cutting a video for the American Heritage Center, trying to say to the legislature, put some money, let's do this. But anyway, I was making a video, and this girl that was the clapboard operator, she said, George Ann is here, my daughter's here. Her daughter, this kid said, I went to high school with your granddaughter, Macy. And I said, oh, yeah, really? Yeah. She said, yeah. She said, and my granddaughter had just graduated from college. And she went to high school with her, so they were out of college. Here comes a lady, and she said, this is my mother. Her mother of this college graduate came up and said, this is Governor, oh, I know him. Said, even as a kid, I heard all about you because my grandmother had the hots for you. The great-grandmother had I said, if you're trying to make me feel good, make it a younger generation, you know. But to get an honor tonight, I am honored. I am very pleased. You know, I tried to say as governor, don't name anything after me, but a couple of things were. And one of them was the George Nye Rehab Center at Hope Mulgate. And somebody wrote a letter to the editor saying, if anyone needs rehab, it's George Nye. But the George Nye Northwest Passage, but in McAllister is the George Nye Expressway. And my sister lives in Fort Gibson, and she called me one day. She said, oh, I'm so sorry to wake you up so early, but I just had the most fun time last night. Said we were at Charlie's Chicken here at Fort Gibson, and the high school softball team from McAllister was eating at Charlie's Chicken in Fort Gibson, and she graduated from McAllister, and the team left, but their sponsors, a young couple with 2 kids, were still sitting there. My sister gets up and goes over to them and said, are you all from McAllister? They said, yes. She said, I'm from McAllister. And they said, what was your maiden name? And she said, Nye. And they said, like in George Nye? And she said, yeah. And they turned to the 2 little kids and say, the George Nye Highway. And the kids go, yeah. And as my sister's walking off, the little boy grabs my sister's arm and said, what did your brother do to get his folks to name him after a highway? But time marches on. And here I am tonight. We're talking about equity. We're talking about for everybody and we're talking about innovation and vision. And there's a difference, you know, there's sight, and then there's putting it together, innovation. And I like to think so many times great things happen just because somebody had a vision. So I'm honored tonight to get something that uses the word vision, Innovision. I'm so honored because I think that sometimes you just get a glimpse of something and it's not, as she said, the normal things a governor does. It's maybe just be a thought that you have. And here I am, a high school graduate, a junior college graduate from Eastern A&M at Wilburton, a college graduate from East Central University, the president, former, of University of Central Oklahoma in higher education. And somebody had a vision, and tonight as we celebrate, quote unquote, Career Tech, the Chancellor of Higher Education, Glenn Johnson, is here. We're not talking about college degrees. We're talking about career opportunities. And I just think it's so wonderful that somebody had a vision. And I'm so honored that the Bartlett family and the Tuttle family are here. And I am so pleased that we had a table that we could have a little reunion over there because, yes, I was governor, but I also was lieutenant governor 16 years and served under 4 different governors. And one of them was Dewey Bartlett, a Republican governor. Governor and lieutenant governor don't run as a team. You run independently in Oklahoma. We had a Republican governor and a Democratic lieutenant governor. And we knew each other, but the first year or so, it was tough because here's this Democrat trying to do something, and here's this Republican trying to do something. And it was kind of awkward. And Dewey and I, but Dewey and I, sometimes we got, okay, I want to do something. No, don't do that. That's the governor's job. I said, well, I want to do something. And finally, Governor Bartlett said, and I said, as we sat down one time, he said, let's figure out something that you can do that doesn't require me, but that I want done. And we give Governor Bartlett credit, and we talk about career, and one of the people tonight was saying, quoting how many thousands of jobs are going unfilled, Tom, because of they're not qualified, Tom? And do you know who triggered? I don't know that I've ever heard it mentioned. Do you know who triggered VOTEC in Oklahoma? Does anybody know who triggered Career Tech, VOTEC in Oklahoma? Dewey Bartlett, George Nye, Francis Tuttle, the commander of Tinker Air Force Base, came to Dewey Bartlett and said, we can't fill positions at Tinker Air Force. And think of the economy of Oklahoma that Tinker Air Force Base creates, and he said, we can't fill jobs at Tinker. And Dewey asked me to lead a committee that would go to the Carolinas and look at their VOTEC system, and we flew on a Tinker Air Force Base airplane at taxpayers' expense. And we went to the Carolinas where they had the ultimate VOTEC system. And Oklahoma got its VOTEC from that airplane trip that was mentioned by the first person up here tonight. On that plane, I led the delegation. I just led the delegation. I wasn't the brains. I was the leader. And can you imagine that we hired the guy who showed us the Carolina VOTEC system? We hired him. Dewey Bartlett hired him, and we brought him to Oklahoma and created a VOTEC system. Now, you'd think a former president of a university would talk about college degrees. Let me tell you something. Long before I thought about a college education, I was in a VOTEC class in the 9th grade at McAllister High School. In the 1940s, World War I, about. And you wrote down in VOTEC in the 9th grade what you wanted to be when you grew up. And we were going to study that the whole semester. Doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, we were going to study it. And in VOTEC, 9th grade, I wrote down governor. And the teacher said, I don't know how we're going to study that. I've never had that subject before. So we didn't study it that whole semester. But that's what I wrote down in Votech. Because I was thinking about a career, an opportunity. I wasn't thinking about a college degree. I love college degrees. As president of UCO, former president, let me tell you, I'm proud of what we did at UCO. But I'm proud, as was pointed out, everybody needs an opportunity. Every Oklahoman needs an opportunity to do better. And sometimes when we come like to foundations and say, let's buy shoes for them, let's cover some kind of expense for the young man, and we're in a nice room like this and you're talking about covering expense, and you say, well, gosh, they can afford this. They can afford a lot. That's for things the government can't pay for. There's some things you can't do for a student with government money. It takes foundation. It takes charity. It takes encouragement. And everybody in Oklahoma and all 77 counties needs the opportunity of a career, not just a vocation. And that could be required with a college degree or it could be required with career tech. But what's fun now is they're working together. Higher education and career tech. Isn't it fun to see people work together? Here we got a MC that's on the staff of Congressman Cole. Now here's a Republican introducing a Democrat. Does Tom know you did that? I wonder if the Pope knows you did that. Working together? We can't have that. And Dewey Bartlett and I work together. Wow, this is Francis Tuttle. Okay. This has never basically ever been used in one of my public speeches. Francis Tuttle, Dewey Bartlett, Francis Tuttle, Francis Tuttle and I were okay. When I ran for governor in 1958, Francis Tuttle was the state chairman finance of my Democratic opponent. Francis Tuttle was the state chairman of my Democratic opponent. When I needed help at the Department of Commerce, I told my staff, get me Francis Tuttle. I said, he ain't for us. I said, get me Francis Tuttle. I said, Francis, I want you to be chairman. I want you to be the head of my Department of Commerce. I want to work on Votech and commerce and training. Isn't it fun when you work together? And I thought tonight, Dewey Bartlett, Republican, George Nye, Democratic Lieutenant Governor, Francis Tuttle, chairman of my opponent, but my buddy who saved me at the Department of Commerce. How neat it is to work together has been mentioned. Unity. And so tonight I want to tell you I'm honored. And I think it's important for us to understand every kid, young man, young woman, wherever they live in Oklahoma deserves equal. And I couldn't believe it when I became governor that OETA, the Oklahoma Educational Television Authority, couldn't be seen in all 77 counties. I said, wait a minute, that's a state television system. They said, well, you can't get it in the Panhandle and you can't get it in Tishomingo because of the mountains, and it's just so expensive. I said, if they live in Oklahoma and we have an educational authority, all 77 counties are going to see it, and they do. And he mentioned area highways. Bob was mentioning highways everywhere. Area. We mentioned area. We mentioned area education. Votech is a different school system. It's not your city schools district. Mr. New, our new Oklahoma City, he doesn't even have the same district. Votechs, career techs have different boundaries. And when I became governor, not every person in Oklahoma, you don't have to be young to go to career tech. But career tech wasn't handy. I said, we're going to have career tech in every geographical area in this state. And it was pointed out, what was fun is during my first time was the boom. And my first term was wonderful. I had money to do everything. We built VOTEC, we built veteran centers, we raised teachers. We did fun. Second term was terrible because of the bus. 1982, I got reelected, Penn Square failed. I didn't cause it, but it happened. But what I want to tell you is that working together, it's so different. We're not enemies. We're friends. In Oklahoma, the career tech, career opportunity, how wonderful it is. And here we are at Francis Tuttle, honoring the memory of a great guy who did so much for economic development. Let me close with this. What's the image of Oklahoma? You may not know this. And I still call it VOTEC, so excuse me. They come from around the world to see how Oklahoma's VOTEC career tech system works. They come from around the world to see our career tech system. Gosh. Can you imagine the image around the world? You're going to go study career tech. Where are you going? I'm going to Oklahoma. From around the world, they come here. And so I'm honored for this Vision Award, this Innovision. I'm honored to be with Career Tech. I'm honored to be with so many friends. I appreciate, I have to pick on Rick Dimmitt. He almost brought me to tears. When he worked at UCO, I called him Rick Dammit. But thanks, Rick. But I'm honored that you came tonight, and I'm honored to be honored. So let me close with this. They played the song that I love so dearly, and you stood, and we always stand. It's kind of funny, on Broadway they had to end up saying, ladies and gentlemen, when they play Oklahoma during the first act, please do not stand and applaud. Oklahoma isn't the finale. The song Oklahoma comes in the middle of the play. And people would go there and they'd stand and start doing this. And the play was still going on. They said, do not stand and applaud. They'd announce it before the show started. And lucky me, in 1953, while I was a member of the legislature, I had the privilege of introducing the bill that made that the state song. And I'm going to skip that long story I tell about that, but I'm going to tell you a different story about that song that most people don't know. Rodgers and Hammerstein bought the rights to Green Grow the Lilacs, written by Lynn Riggs from Will Rogers' town of Claremore. Lynn Riggs from Claremore, Oklahoma, wrote Green Grow the Lilacs. Rodgers and Hammerstein, it was on stage. Rodgers and Hammerstein bought the rights, rewrote the music. Agnes DeMille was hired, and she did different dance scenes. And they redid this Away We Go. And they said, oh, God, it's got so much energy, so much punch. Away We Go, that doesn't, you buy a book by its cover. Away We Go didn't think they'd sell many tickets. We needed something with punch and enthusiasm. And so it was Green Grow the Lilacs, so they changed it to Away We Go. Isn't that exciting? In the play, when the couple is married and they're in the surrey and they're riding off, on the back of the surrey is the sign, Away We Go. And they took that and made it Away We Go. Opened off Broadway, Philadelphia, Boston. Not exciting. They said, it's just Away We Go. Green Grow the Lilacs. Mrs. Hammer, this was told to me by Rich Bond, the only Oklahoman to ever star on Broadway as Curly in Oklahoma, went to high school at McAllister, Oklahoma. Rich and I were at the same school. Rich told me this story. They were in a meeting, and they said, it just doesn't have any punch. It doesn't have any enthusiasm. How can we get people excited? Mrs. Hammerstein said, well, let's call it Oklahoma. And they said, how exciting is Oklahoma? Where's the punch? And Mrs. Hammerstein said, let's put an exclamation point after it and call it Oklahoma. The name of the play, the name of the movie, not the song. It's still Oklahoma. But the name of the play, the name of the movie starring Shirley Jones is Oklahoma exclamation point. And so tonight, what we've done with Career Tech and what we've done with so many other things, and I'm so honored here tonight, and I just challenge us to do what Rogers and Hammerstein did for us. Let's always put the exclamation point there. And let's give our young people, let's give our people career opportunities. Let's give them a great way of life. Let's help them out.